And they're gonna sit down face to face, feet in front of you, and we're gonna warm up here with our back break falls. The idea with the back break fall is that you're going to fall straight back. You're gonna hit your hands to the mat when your head would have hit, stopping your fall. This is also a nice way to just kind of warm up at the beginning of the class, feel that first impact with the mat. We're falling straight back, slapping the mat when our head would hit the mat. And we'll do it on the count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're now going to do side break falls, but the idea is instead of tipping straight back, we're falling over sideways. Again, not letting our head hit the mat and letting your hand hit the mat first. So we're falling first towards me. And 1, and 2, and 3. Other direction. 1, 2, 3. We're now going to do an exercise that we like to call rolling the ball or balancing the ball. You're going to roll up onto your shoulders and balance for just a moment, and then come on back down. Each time, trying to hover here for just a second or two, and come back down. This time your head can and should touch the ground. And begin on your own. So this one you don't have to do on a count. You can just go by yourself, coming up, balancing for a moment, coming back down, engaging our core, using just our body to do it. Try not to put your elbows on the ground if you can help it. And in fact, we want to break the habit quite often of sitting on our elbows. It's usually a mistake. And now we're going to move into our triangles. Triangling your legs is locking your knee over your ankle, and it can be a super useful controlling position and even leads to some submissions. And so we're going to practice our triangles and begin. They're rolling back. You can now use your arms for balance if you'd like. If you can't see them quite in the camera, I'll be here dead center as well. And we're coming up, locking our knee over our ankle, coming back down. Come up, lock the other side, and then back down. Continue on your own. Few more seconds. And down. And so now, both of you turn and face me. Get a little closer. You'll see why in a second. And now, lay back on your back. And we're going to do bridges. So, these two, just because we can stay in frame, are going to coordinate with each other. But at home, you don't have to at all. They're going to be bridging. A bridging motion is getting your hips up towards the ceiling to try and knock somebody off of the mount or some other position. And so they're going to bridge starting towards the front door in our case, and then back and forth, and begin, go. And so you see them reaching up. The hips are going up towards the ceiling. If you were wearing a belt, that knot of the belt is going towards the ceiling. Your belly button is going up. And you can either do this motion slow to make it a stretch to warm yourselves up, or you can do it ballistically. You can do it fast to try and get yourself heated up, whichever one you prefer. Yeah, now they're going fast. And because they're doing it together, whoever goes faster, the other person has to keep up. Okay, stop. Good. All right. And now we can just stay in this position for the moment. Maya, why don't you move a little bit over to your right? Good. And now we're going to pommel our legs in big circles. Begin. Go ahead. So they're making big circles with their feet. This is warming up your hips and your knees. And the idea here as well is that this is a very useful jiu-jitsu technique itself, being able to pommel your feet back into position and change directions. Go. Good. If you can get your head and shoulders off the ground, if you can keep your elbows tucked in, then it's going to be a good workout for your core as well. And down. Very good. Everybody sit on up, turn and face the cameras. And we're now going to do what we call our S-sit position. So everyone, or both of you, put your right shin in front, your left leg behind. As you see, the shape of their legs is this S position. The feet are going to swing in front and then swing behind. And begin. So this may be one of the first motions here. Maya, you can move a little bit over if you need a little room. This may be one of the first motions that for you is a little bit, coordination challenging for some of you. Some of you might be very easy. But if you find yourself like, oh, this is a little difficult, this is going to happen. There are some basic movements in jiu-jitsu. That everyone doesn't have right away due to flexibility or coordination, all that. They will all come. They will all come. With practice, you'll get better at the movements. And when you get better at the movements, you'll eventually get better at the techniques that are required. Very good. And stop. Very good. So two of them are going to face each other. I'm going to get a little bit closer here to the camera so we can see what we're going to do next. And what it is going to be our grips. So for those of you that are my regular students who already know all the grips that we go through, you can do them on your own. If this is new for you, then you can follow me. So if you already know the grips, begin on your own, just like they are going to with each other, just going through their different hand grips. If this is new for you, everyone just watch here. So we're going to take our hands and bring them together into what we call an S grip. So all the fingers together making this S shape. From here, you're going to slide to what we call a palm to palm. The key with palm to palm or a gable grip is that your thumbs are on the inside. So one thumb is inside, wrapped around with the fingers from here. So we went from S grip to palm or gable grip. From here, imagine your right hand is a watch. Cover the watch with your hand. Notice again that my thumb is covering as well. And so all 5 fingers are wrapped around the watch grip. Slide to my fist, cover the fist in the same type of grip as the watch, just over the fist instead. From here, slide to both elbows in what we call our tombstone grip. And now one hand is already on the inside, leave it there. Bring the other hand up and over into another figure 4, similar to your legs, but now with your arms. Come back to the tombstone grip. Come back to the fist grip, back to the watch grip, back to palm, back to fingertips, and now flip your fingertips. And now palm to palm, and now watch, and now fist, and now elbows, and now the other figure 4. And you can continue on your own as fast as your hands feel comfortable. We're warming up our fingers, we're warming up our wrists, warming up our forearms. And everyone shake out your arms. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is our Kimura grip. This is the first kind of contact with the other person. If you've got another person here, you can do the same motion. I'm going to do it next to them when we start. But the idea is that we're controlling one of their arms with both of ours. Jennifer, move over a little bit here and come on up to your knees. Whoever is having the technique done to them should be sitting down on their butt so that their head is a little bit lower. Whoever's head is higher, you're the person who's going to attack. My hand is going to grip the wrist. So it's the same one. It's not like I'm shaking hands, reaching across. It's the same side. So my left arm and Jennifer's right arm. And so I'm going to grip the wrist, and my other arm is going to come over the top and grip my own wrist. So everyone take a moment to look at this configuration here. I'm gripping the wrist over the top and gripping my own wrist. It's not both hands on her arm. It's one hand on her arm, one hand on my own arm. And then the final thing I'll do is rev my wrists a little bit to make the whole position stronger. And now, you won't see it in the camera as well, I'm going to reach over to the other side and attack there. I'm now going to get low, Jennifer's going to get high, and she's going to reach into the wrist and then over the top. And then I go to the other side. Very good. And then I would alternate back and forth. So Maya's going to take my spot. If you have a partner, you're going to do this with them. One person going higher, whoever's going higher, comes up and starts attacking. 2 Kimura grips on each side. Again, opportunity to warm up your arms, everything else from here. If you are by yourself, then what you're simply practicing is this snatching motion, right? So you're gripping, using some imagination, over the top and grip. We can also do this from the ground. Hopefully many of you can see me here. Not sure if the angle's quite right, but you'll sit up to an elbow, grip with the hand, reach over the top and grab your own wrist. Reach over the top and grab your own. It can actually be an ab exercise as well. If you are with a partner or by yourself, just continue for another 30 seconds. And while you guys are finishing this up, I want to describe some general ideas about jiu-jitsu for those of you that are brand new to it. So I like to think of jiu-jitsu as being broken into 3 categories. And those 3 categories are improving to a dominant position, escaping from an inferior position, and when you're in a dominant position, attacking. So those are our 3 main categories: escaping from an inferior position, establishing or getting to a dominant position, and when we get to a dominant position, attacking. So the first thing we're going to work on, and often a given class contains all 3 of those elements, we're going to start with escaping. How do we get out of some of these bad positions? And so for my students, these escapes will be familiar. If you are new to us, then the escape may be familiar or similar, but you won't necessarily know it. And time. Okay, so first things first, Jennifer is going to lay down with her head towards the camera, the feet towards the shins end there. Yep, looks good. Maya's going to take the top of the mount position. So our first position we're going to escape is going to be the mount. Jennifer's going to do the knee elbow escape. I'm going to explain it one time so that you guys at home who don't know it can understand it, and then you're gonna go on your own. So first things first, Jennifer's gonna turn on to either side. She's gonna make a frame with her arms. So if you notice, if you can't quite see down low, one arm my way, you get your head up high just so they can see. She'll come back down in a second. The forearm is across the waist, the other hand is on top of it, and the second forearm is across the thigh, creating this shape here, so Maya can't climb higher. And now Maya's gonna put her hands back down on the mat, because that's where we wanna be. The person on top here, your goal is to just be kind of firm, but not resisting. So you're not trying to stop the person on the bottom, you're just trying to be a nice body for them to use here. And so now Jennifer is gonna straighten her bottom leg, in her case it's her right leg. Her other leg, her left leg, is gonna come over the top and find Maya's foot. She pulls on the foot, captures the foot, and now, you might not be able to quite see, but right now Maya's foot is stuck between Jennifer's legs. She's gonna now use her elbow to push the knee between her legs entirely, and now Jennifer has established what we call a half guard. Anytime you have a guard, you can use your legs and you're no longer in an inferior position. You're now in a neutral position with a guard. And it can become her own dominant position very fast. So she's gonna let go, they're gonna switch top and bottom. Maya's gonna go on her back, Jennifer's gonna take the top of the mount, and Maya's gonna do the same thing. I'm not gonna explain it again. They're gonna alternate 1 for 1 with this. You can do the same thing at home, or you can do 2 for 2, whatever works for you. If you are by yourself, again, I'll try to squeeze into the camera, I'm not sure if it will fit, but you're simply doing all the motions by themselves. So we're creating this frame, we're turning on our side, small strip out. You're straightening your bottom leg. Your top leg is reaching over the top and capturing back in the half guard. So what we're basically practicing, if you're by yourself, is your shrimping motion and coordinating your legs together. Continue on your own for another 45 seconds or so. All of you that joined us today, thank you. By the way, you know, because we're gonna probably put this video somewhere later, like YouTube, we don't have any music on the background usually in class, as you know, we're gonna have music on. I recommend maybe you put something on in the background for yourself. We can't do it because the thing might get blocked later. 15 more seconds and then we'll move on to pump handle escape. And time, okay. So we escaped the mount position. That's one of the worst positions. The absolute worst position is the back position. So Maya's gonna be in the front, facing the cameras. Yeah. Jennifer's gonna be on the back. Yep. So first things first, if you don't know this position, Jennifer is in the most dominant position in jiu-jitsu, aside from maybe some of the leg positions that I personally like a little bit better. But the back position is kind of universally considered the very best. If you do not know jiu-jitsu and you're the person on the back, a couple of details. Your heels should be hooked in to your partner's legs down at the bottom there, like you're wearing a pair of spurs. You shouldn't cross your ankles. You just have your heels locked into their legs. We want to have one arm over a shoulder and one arm under an arm in what we call a seatbelt. It should look like a seatbelt in a car, diagonally across their chest, right? And so the idea is this position by itself can be very difficult to get out of if the person on the back doesn't do anything. But jiu-jitsu is not a game of just getting somewhere and holding on for dear life. Jennifer would start attacking. And the main way she would attack is her right arm would start going for a choke. And at that moment, that's when Maya's gonna be able to defend her neck and escape the position the best. So Maya will start with both of her hands up near her neck, protecting the line towards her neck, right? And so now as Jennifer starts to reach through, Maya's gonna grip the wrist with one hand and then another, yep. She's gonna pull it straight, so it should look kind of like you're holding a baseball bat on your shoulder. Pull it straight, and now she's gonna pump that arm to the other side. What she's done is give herself a lane to escape to her right. And what you're simply gonna do here is just fall, just tip over. Don't try to catch yourself on your elbows or your hands or any of that. And now Maya's gonna start worming herself off the leg all the way out. They're kind of falling off camera, but we get the idea there. And again, you can come on down and come back in front, and Maya can take your back. What we do at the very end, don't get too bothered with that. There's a lot of different options. You can attack a leg, we can go to half guard, we can do a bunch of things. But the key is once your back hits the mat, you are out of the back position. So wherever you end up, it's an improvement. Barring ending up directly into a submission, you've improved. So that's all we care about right now. So once again, Maya has her hooks in, she has the over-under, and she starts attacking. Jennifer goes ahead and pump handles and then falls to the side. There'll be a little bit of action afterwards, and I will often climb back up. Jennifer will capture anything. Even ending up in the bottom of the mount is an improvement. Every position is better than the back, other than a submission itself. So now, with your partner, if you have one, you're going to continue alternate 1 for 1 with the pump handle escape. If not, then you are working on the same motion as the person in the front by yourself. Starting with this crossed up position in front of your neck, hands to your shoulder, up and over, everything small and compact. And then you're falling over to the side that you had started your hands. So if your hands are on your right side to pump, that's the side you're falling to on each time. One thing, if you're a newer student, that you want to avoid doing is as you fall, trying to turn away from your opponent. You end up showing them your back again, they end up jumping on your back again, and we miss the whole point. What you should be trying to do instead is getting your back to the mat. If your back is on the mat, then you are safe, you are on your way out. If your back is still visible, then they can still jump on it. Keep on working. If this is very new to you, then each time you do it might take, might take you 15 seconds. Once you get a little more experience with it, it should take you 1 or 2 or 3 seconds each, and you can alternate back and forth and back and forth. One or two more. All right, and stop. Okay, so the third and final escape that we're going to work on right now is escaping from side control. So first, let's identify what side control is. So Jennifer's going to be on her back, head towards the camera. Maya is now going to be 90 degrees to the side. So as you notice, Maya's going to bring her chest down, and like they make a plus sign, where the center of that plus sign is their sternum. So Maya's chest is on top of Jennifer's chest, and she's at 9 degrees, right? Her legs aren't towards the head, they're not toward the leg, they're right in the middle. And now Maya's going to take her left arm and go underneath Jennifer's head, right? And her right arm, which you might not be able to see quite, is underneath the arm. So if we think about when we're in the back position, we're controlling an arm and the head, and we're doing the same thing here, just from a different position. So first thing that Jennifer needs, and this is often the case with escapes, is to make space. She needs to get space between her attacker and herself. And so the way she's going to do this first is to get her left arm. So actually, let's back up. The right arm, the arm that's closer to the waist, should already be inside the waistline. That's actually usually pretty easy to get to. It's hard for the person on top to close that space up altogether. So that should be already there. If it's not, please put it there. Your other arm is going to be challenging to get between your heads. So how are we going to do that? Jennifer is going to do that big bridging motion we did at the very beginning of class to move Maya's head past her head. Once she makes that space, inserting the forearm in front of the chin should be a little easier. It's sometimes still a battle to get that arm in there when you're doing this live, but when you're doing it as a drill, it shouldn't be too hard right now, and to get better at the skill. So once she has the arm in front, she's got a double frame. As you can see, all of Jennifer's fingers are sticking out here. That means that she's got this frame going. And now she's going to use that frame to push while she escapes her hips out to the side. Look at how much giant space she's making between herself and Maya. When you do this live, you might not get that much space, but all you need is enough space to swing your leg back in front, and she's recovered a guard. We might get to a half guard, we might get to a butterfly guard, you might go all the way through to a closed guard. It varies, it doesn't really matter right now. The goal is just to recover any form of guard. So now Maya's going to be on the bottom. Jennifer's going to take the same side control. Yep. And so now, first things first, Maya's bottom hand is in there first. Second, she needs to get the hand in front of the face, so she's going to do a big bridge, pushing Jennifer's head over, getting her arm inside. Now she's got both arms in, we're on our way. So now, double frame push, shrimp out the legs, and insert the knee each time. Very good. And now they're going to continue 1 for 1. Again, if you have a partner, that's what you're working on. If you're by yourself, you're working on a very similar skill. So they're going to keep going here in the background. I'm going to be here. And so the motion, hopefully everyone can see most of my length here, is that we've got both hands in. This is our frame position. That top arm is sometimes out, and so we bridge. Big bridge motion up. Big bridge motion up, and then cycle the arm back in. The best way to cycle that arm back in is up, And imagine your elbow is just like the center part of a windshield wiper, and swing your hand back in. So it's up, swing back in. Once we've got that, we've got our push. We push, legs out, bottom knee comes in. So if you're by yourself working on this technique, this is what we should look like. We should be here. Big bridge, swing this back in, shrimp out, knee in. If you notice, a lot of our escapes here involve at some point a bridge, at some point a shrimp. These movements are very useful for a lot of our escapes. Very nice. So another 30 seconds to a minute. What we're going to do next is I'm going to give you a minute, and the two here are going to do it as well. I'm going to give you a minute of free time to work on any one of the escapes you'd like, or all three. So it's very important often to look back at the techniques you just practiced and go, wait, do I actually remember them, or did I do them 5 times and then they went right out of my head? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to tell your partner, I want you on my back, or on side control, or the mount, and then you're gonna rep your escape, and then it's their turn. You can either do the same one over and over, or you can alternate through all 3 of them. Mount, back, side control. Those are your 3 choices, and again, you can do all 3, or you can just pick one of them and do it over and over and over. So, just a single minute, minute and a half on the clock, and begin. Go, work on an escape. You also, especially for the more experienced students, can start changing how you finish the techniques. So in other words, you can pick different guards that you would end up in. Each escape should end up in a guard or a leg position. So for those of you familiar with Ashigarami or any of our other leg entry positions, that might be a nice option to finish the technique as well. So at the end of, say, pump handle escape, as they step over for the mount, capturing an Ashigarami is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. As you're escaping side control, pulling into a half butterfly guard, which is a great way to take yourself into some of these leg positions, is also an option. So if you are new to this, or you don't understand, you have no idea, if you don't know what the word Ashigarami is, don't worry about anything I just said. You know what Ashigarami is, that's a start. Maybe you should start looking for some of those leg entries as well. It's entirely a strategic choice up to you. 15 more seconds. Last one, Matt. Very good. Okay. So now, very good, ladies. We're now going to work on one of our guard passes. So we just did escaping from an inferior position. You're in one of those bad positions, you got to get out. Now we're going to start in a neutral position. We're going to get to a dominant position. Specifically, we're going to get to side control. So the idea here with a guard, there's a lot of different types of guards. Some of them use both legs, some of them use one leg, some use both legs pulling onto you. Sometimes they use both legs are pushing on you, like in a butterfly guard. Sometimes one leg is pulling and one leg is pushing, such as like a half butterfly, which is why it's one of my favorite positions. We're going to attack the butterfly guard. So Maya, you can come off to the side for a moment. Just I'll use Jennifer for this first one, and then I'll use you for the next one. So Jennifer is sitting there in butterfly guard with her back to the camera, her face to me. And I'm going to be sitting on my knees in front of it. So this is often a position that we're starting in. Jennifer's got her feet inside. It's called the butterfly guard because her feet, I'm going to have you just turn 90 degrees for a moment to see. Our feet look like we're kind of doing one of those butterfly stretches. That's the idea. And the advantage of this position is that her feet are hooked inside. And so as I start to step and move, she can keep hooked onto me the whole time, right? And she can start moving my leg around. She can start attacking it. She can start knocking me over. This is a really powerful guard position, but it doesn't have any control over my movement if I back away or I stand up. So the weakness to this position is that if I start to stand up, she can't control me, especially we're doing a no-gi class here where you can't grab onto the collars or the sleeves. So she has no way of stopping me from standing up. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stand up into a low position. I wanna be low because when I'm standing up high, it's very easy to knock me over. When I'm low, my base, my balance is a lot better. So I could attack Jennifer's guard with her sitting here. I'd rather actually attack it with her flat on her back. And so I could just slam into her as hard as I want. That would be legal, but just kind of jerky. So instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give a small bump to the shoulders, just a small bump, which isn't gonna knock her all the way over probably, small bump, and then my hands come down to her feet and lift. And we end up with her flat on her back and her feet are still engaged. So she can still do a lot of really good stuff with these legs and get me in trouble, but we're on our way to attack. So first thing, small bump and lift. Up we go. Now, I'm gonna keep both of my hands on the shins and we're gonna enter a foot into the center. So hopefully everyone can see from here. If you don't know this technique, most of you know, we're gonna do a knee slice, but with a variation on it. So even my experienced students here are gonna get something new out of it. So my foot enters the center and both of my hands are on the knee. Now, a classic knee slice, I'm gonna start pushing down and driving my knee this way. In this case, I'm gonna expect a response from Jennifer. So as I drive, she brings her knees back to her left, right? That's gonna stop my knee slice, but it's gonna walk me into a better pass, or at least one I like more. I'm gonna get low, 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 low. And I want this knee to go past my center line. So as I start putting my weight forward, Jennifer's knees are both pointing this way. One of our general ideas with guard passing is the knees are like a pair of headlights. And if I'm in the headlights, I'm in the guard. Once I get outside of the headlights, then it's gonna be very hard for her to keep this guard. So once we've got the headlights turned to the side, I'm gonna bring my chest down because now when Jennifer tries to bring that knee back in, she finds it challenging, and we're now gonna get a grip on the upper body, the head, reach across wherever we are here, and I'm gonna start sprawling my legs down. Notice the headlights are turning even more to the front door, and now kick this leg back, and we're in side control. I'll show it again with a little less explanation, a little more specific technique. So she's seated up, I'm gonna bump the shoulders and lift the feet. I'm gonna step a leg to the inside, classic knee slice, I go across. But in this case, she resists. That's fine. Straight down. Drive the chest to the knee. Start to get some control of the upper body. And now, sprawl the leg out. We end up inside control, just like we talked about earlier. So, Maya's gonna come inside. She'll be in the butterfly guard. Jennifer is gonna start on her knees. Good. And now, Jennifer's gonna start to stand up. Give a little bump to the shoulder and then a lift of the feet. Enters the right foot in the center. Starts to come forward to the knee slice, but Maya turns her knees. And so now Jennifer just gets low until her chest gets to the knee. She continues to press forward, grips the head, sprawls the right leg back, and ends up inside control. Very nice. Maya's turn. They're gonna alternate one for one over here. Yeah. Why don't you guys slide a little closer to the shin's end, just so you have a nice view. Yeah, you're framed fine. And, yeah, vegan. I'm gonna put 2 minutes on the clock. See how many reps we can get done. If you're with a partner, you're gonna follow the instructions exactly as they were. If not, if you're by yourself, then a couple of skills we can practice here by ourselves that are useful. One is just simply the stand-up, right? So here we are. Let's put our hands on the mat in front, and you can either one foot and then the other, or you can practice from here, dynamically jumping up to both feet. This is a skill here you can practice a bit all by yourself. Hands, feet, up. Hands, feet, up. From here, we can practice entering, staying low. Bringing ourselves in low, getting our grips, finishing the motion. So there's a lot of pieces to it. You can figure out whatever part you'd like and rep that for the next 2 minutes as well. 45 seconds. Maybe you should get in 2 more reps each. Maya, try to keep that knee inside so she has to handle it. Like when she steps over, your knee's gone, she'll let this go. Nice, Maya. Yeah. Nice, Jen. Yeah. Cool. And time. Very good. So we're now going to move on to one of our favorite attacks from the top of that side control that we just got to. Maya, you'll okay for me here. Jennifer, you can step off to the side. And so we're going to turn ourselves 90 degrees so you can see a little bit better. Maya's head is going to be here, her feet are going to be here, right? Just make sure, let's slide a little bit that way. Excellent. Okay, so we got to side control, right? We got here. In the gi, both mount and side control, the number of attacks you have are way higher because you can control the collar and the sleeves. There's submissions using the collar. There are plenty of submissions from side control on the mount from no-gi, but there's less of them. And also just simply holding on to somebody is a bit more challenging because of the fact that there isn't any material to grab onto and things are slippery. So we're going to look at our Darce submission from here, which is an arm triangle where you trap an arm in the head and strangle them. However, it's not as simple as just going for it. If your partner were to make a big mistake here, if Maya were to turn towards me and just leave this arm kind of up in the air, then going under the arm and under the head would be easy, and I can go to this finish. For those of you that are unfamiliar with this strangle, I'm going to slow it down a lot in a second, so don't worry. But the idea is that our partner's probably not going to be that nice to us. They're not going to just like give us this big gap to attack their head. So we need to make it happen. So all the person on the bottom is going to do is turn towards us with these arms still tucked in. And we're going to take ourselves to what we sometimes like to call the butterfly side control. I know we're using that term butterfly a lot for different positions, but here the idea is it's referring to our arms. So the arm that's closer to their head is going to wrap over the top of their head. The arm that is closer to their arm is going to wrap over the elbow. Sometimes we'll go into this position that we like to call the arm clamp right here, but the underhook clamp, but we're going to ignore that right now. Those of you, again, my own students who are more experienced who want to wrap the underhook clamp, feel free. But for the rest of us, we're going for this butterfly position. So an arm is over the head and an arm is over the arm. Okay, so now let's explain the Darce. This is the control position. When Maya tries to back up or scoot away, she finds it really challenging. That's where we are. I need to be leaning back. If I'm leaning forward, if Maya rolls towards her right, yeah, I might just get rolled right over my head. So I want to be leaning back a little bit here. I want to be sitting on my heels so I can control her. What am I going to do? My arm that's close to her legs, in my case it's my right arm, that might not be for you. I'm going to go under her elbow and then under the head as well. So we need it to go all the way through. Especially if you're with someone a lot smaller or one of your kids and like they can't quite reach because their arm is a little too short, you want to drop your shoulder all the way down. So the goal is to get my hand to come out to the bottom here. The arm is in there and the head is in there. Everyone take a moment and look at this position. Make sure you kind of understand it. It's something that seems complex at the beginning. It won't. It'll start clicking really fast. Now, from here, we're going to go to our figure 4 position that we worked on at the very beginning of class with our hands. There's some complicated setups where we go palm to palm first and then shoot to you. A lot of different ways to do it. Right now, let's keep it super simple for the newest students. Just go to figure 4 from here. And now, the secondary arm, the hand that's helping, is going to come up to the shoulder. That's going to lock everything in tight. And the finish here will be a squeeze and a pull. And Maya's tapping my leg and I open up my hands and let go. So the key with tapping for the very newest students is that something starts to feel uncomfortable. It shouldn't feel like something's going to break. Don't wait that long. When something starts to feel uncomfortable, tap them 2 or 3 times. If you can't quite tap them, tap the mat. If you can't do any of that because your arms are all tied up, say tap, tap, tap. It's the person on top's responsibility to know when you're really close to the end of a submission and not injure your partner or let them go. So one last time. I'm going into this butterfly side control position. Over the head, over the arm. I'm going to go underneath the arm, underneath the head. The other hand is going to come on in and I'm going to figure 4. The secondary hand is going to come up to the shoulder to lock everything in and I'm going to squeeze. The person on the bottom may feel it like everything's compressing. They may feel it like the bone of the forearm is digging into their neck. don't worry about it right now. Let's just practice this setup from here through, reinforce. All right. Jennifer, come on in, be on the bottom, Maya on top. And once again, we are wrapping our darts a few times. Jennifer and Maya might evolve it into doing a couple of other positions, like going into that clamp I was talking about, going to some other things. You have no need to do that. Feel free to do your own version of it if you know it. Good. And squeeze. Good. Maya, don't be under the bottom arm. Top arm and head only. Good. Turn on to your side. Mm-hmm. So again, if jiu-jitsu is new for you, if this is your first time actually like applying a submission on somebody else, these techniques, they're as close, in my opinion, in the martial arts world to like secret scroll magic tricks. Like they're as close as exist, that you do all these little details right and suddenly somebody is either gonna get injured or they're gonna have to tap. But they're not actually like these magic tricks. And so, while you're practicing it right now, it might be a little bit challenging to get all the way to this point where your partner is tapping to something. That's okay. It's going to take practice. It's going to take practice of understanding the details and getting a feel for where their neck is, get a feel for where you need to squeeze and do all of that. Anytime you learn a new technique, this process is going to happen, and you need to be patient with yourself. As you get more experience, some techniques will remind you of ones you've already done. You're going to have some things that are familiar. You're also going to have better control over your body. So as we practice these things more, you're going to have more success, but you need to be patient, especially when you're learning something brand new. And for those of you that are new to jiu-jitsu, this is all brand new. And don't beat yourself up. Oh, I don't get it. It's not for me. It's not that. This stuff just actually takes work. 45 more seconds. Once again, if you're by yourself on this, then you can practice the hand motions. We can practice the diving through, the reinforcing, the squeeze. The finish for here should be a bit on your side, just a little, and we're pulling the elbow back while we squeeze the hands in. Last technique that we're going to do for the day is going to be one that, again, all these ones so far are familiar to my students. It's called the tripod sweep. So the techniques that we've done so far had to do with the person in the butterfly guard getting attacked, right? We went past the guard, got to side control, now we're finishing them off with the darts choke. Person on the bottom hasn't done anything effective yet, right? The person on the bottom has just gotten smashed. So now we're going to look at a technique from the person on the bottom. Now, this is something where, depending on the setup you have with your family or your friends in your home, you may do this all the way to the end, you may not. You may stop it halfway through. So first, I'm going to show you the full version of it. Jennifer's going to stand up. And now here I am in the butterfly. So actually, she's going to come back down to her knees. This is where we were a second ago, right? She stands up, she starts planning on attacking. If I wait too long, she starts tipping me backwards, just like we were doing, right? Like if I wait, if I get too far behind, it's not going to work so well. So the idea is the moment she stands up, why don't you come on back down, we'll just do it together, right? The moment she stands up, I'm gripping an ankle with my hand. So hopefully everyone can see my right hand is gripping Jennifer's left foot. Now, one of the nice things about this technique in particular is that what it is using at least 3, if not all 4 of my limbs at the same time. It's a very jiu-jitsu idea, that if I can coordinate my limbs together, I'm going to be way more effective. This is only going to come from practice. So we're going to do it sequentially at first, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to try and do it all together as we get more experience. So right hand here is going to grip the ankle. The same leg, so if it's my right hand, it's going to be my right leg. I'll switch that if it's the other side. It's going to come up to the hip. Boom, right here. So we end up with a hand and leg on the same side of Jennifer's body. If you can't reach, flexibility or otherwise, just get yourselves a little more sideways and this foot will reach to the hip. My knee should be bent. And now the third and final step is that free leg is going to hook the leg that Jennifer hasn't brought into the game yet. So I've got a hand on one foot, I've got a foot on the same leg, and then I've got a foot hooking here. Now I'm going to take this all the way to the ground. It's simply going to be a pull with the 2 hooks and a push with the 1 post. Jennifer sits down. This is called our tripod sweep because there's 3 pieces to it: the pull, the push, and the other pull. Now, if you are at home and you're with a situation, you're on the hardwood floor, you've got tables right nearby, you can't, all we need to do, Jennifer's gonna demonstrate it on me here, is I'm gonna stand up, she's gonna grip my ankle, she's gonna post on my hip, she's gonna hook the knee. So everyone take a moment to see this again, right? Foot, hip, knee. When she pushes me, the moment I start to lose my balance, she just lets go of my ankle and I can just step back. And we get the idea that like the moment my balance starts to go, I definitely would have fallen over, right? There's no way I'm gonna catch it by myself, but to help me, she lets go and I can just step back and catch my balance. We can practice this over and over without having to fall down and get up, and certainly if you don't have mats or even carpeting or anything like that. So, one more time, Jennifer's gonna stand up, and now I'm simply gonna show it ideally the way we wanna get, let's move back a bit. The way ideally we wanna get to this is she steps in, no, just like stepping with the left leg to the outside here, yep. And I want to get all 3 of these pieces there at once, right? The goal is to have all 3 hit at once to make this work. At the beginning in particular, you're gonna have to do it one by one because you won't be able to fit that coordination the way you want it. Again, no need to knock our partner down each time if you're not able to in your house, all right? And let's go ahead, 1 for 1, tripod sweep. You can do it any way you'd like, and we'll just do it for like a minute. Feel free, like every other one, to do the one where you don't knock down so that your partner or the people at home can follow that too. You maybe noticed that on that one, Jennifer added the 4th and final limb, her hand to grab the wrist. If you can get that, that's even better. Often all 4 are not available, but 3 certainly are. So again, if you're doing it without falling over, then you want to do a real push, and you mean it. Feel them lose their balance, but let go of the ankle with your hand. Let go of the ankle with their hand so they can catch their balance. That's the whole point of the hand on the ankle. The whole point of the hand on the ankle is that they can't step back and catch their balance. And so if you keep holding on to it, you know, this technique, if we do this right, it works. They're not going to fall, they're going to fall over. And so we need to kind of clean it up on ourselves if we want to be able to catch the balance. We have to let go of the right things at the right time. Also might give you a better understanding of how the technique works. 1 more minute. So, in a regular class, in the dojo, after this drill, maybe we can do a round or 2 of what we call positional work, where you pick a specific position and you work your way out of it. Sometimes we'll do something that we call mini battling, where we're taking one tiny part of the thing and working on it. And sometimes we'll just straight up roll for the rest of the class. So, you know, I'll leave you to that. It's up to you to kind of work on whatever it is that you'd like to work on at the end of this. So if you have the room to just roll, go ahead. If you don't know how to do that, hopefully one of the 2 people in the exchange has some experience with jiu-jitsu. If you both are just learning this for the first time, just pick whatever drills you like the most and work on them a bit more, kind of whichever you'd like. And so one of the things that I think is very important, and I stress in my classes a lot, is having some development of your own jiu-jitsu for yourself. So in other words, yes, I'm going to work with you on techniques and strategies and all the rest of it, but you need to have a sense of what you're working on, what your style leads towards, just the parts of jiu-jitsu maybe you enjoy the most. And so when we have these moments to say, oh, what do you want to work on? You have an answer, right? Too often I see, and I've had this happen to myself, that at a class, you know, or before class or after class, someone says, hey, what do you want to work on? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really have anything in mind. That's not great. You'd like to have a series of ongoing projects that at any point you can then come on in and with a partner, they're like, what do you want to work on? You're like, oh, I want to work on this setup to this position to this, and you can just get to work. Keep going one more time, just so they can see it without me in the shot.
We'll try the switch.
And then we'll go up, yeah. And time. Very good. All right. So, just one last comment to you guys who are all watching. Thank you for everybody who came on in. As I said, feel free to train a bit more on your own. Thank you very much to Maya and Jennifer for being our ukes and working with each other here a little bit. We're going to do more of these, especially if people say that they enjoyed it or had a good chance to work on some of the material at home. You know, beyond that, we're just happy to be able to see you guys, or to, like, you know, bring jiu-jitsu into your homes right now. This is a weird, crazy time. We've given a lot of thought, a lot of conversation amongst each other about, you know, all the things that are going on right now. I want to leave you maybe with just one thought about it, which is simply, if you don't come out of this period, however much comes back to normal, however much has changed afterwards, if you don't come out of this period appreciating the things that you have and realizing like how quickly so many of them can just disappear, then you did it wrong, right? You did coronavirus wrong. If you don't come out of this with some appreciation for the things that you have, if you don't come out of it with this idea that, like, I love jiu-jitsu, but man, it can disappear like that, right? I love being able to see all my friends. I love being able to go to my favorite coffee shop. I love this stuff. Appreciate it a little bit more, because there's tons of reasons, and there's people throughout the world where this happens for other reasons as well, right? We're lucky that we don't live in a place that, you know, suddenly there's a civil war, gets invaded, we're suddenly in a war-torn environment, but people live that way and have their lives entirely uprooted. And I feel, you know, speaking for myself, but maybe some of you would agree, that, like, you know, you hear someone tell a story like that and you're like, oh man, wow, that's terrible, but you don't understand it. We don't understand what it's like to be in a war zone. But we understand a little bit now, I think, what it's like to have parts of your life ripped up and just suddenly have to, maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't, we don't know. Appreciate what you got. Right now, hopefully, many of you have family with you, you still have your health, you've got plenty of other things to be able to do. Appreciate those things at least right now. For those of you that have sick family members, for those of you that are battling this thing directly, you know, our sympathies are with you. Stay healthy, do what you can. We love all of you. Can't wait to see you in person one way or the other, whether it's right now, you know, 20 feet away in a park, whether it's going to be here in the dojo in the soon future or in the late future, whatever. We love you guys. Thanks for joining us. Bye. Trying to shut this off as least awkwardly as possible.